Breath of the Wild is a phenomenal game. I think most people who've played it would agree it's the best open world there is, but it's not quite perfect. However, it's getting a sequel soon, and out of sheer excitement, I wrote a list of things I'd like to see in The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, so I write the list first, right? And then after that, I watch this video by Mockrock, and then my list doubled in length. He goes over all the reasons why Breath of the Wild is only a 97 and not 100. But with that out of the way, here are the things I think would make it 100. I've been staring at this icon for a while now. Okay, first of all, my biggest wish, and this is one that almost certainly won't come true based on what I've seen so far. Keep in mind, I've been trying to avoid everything that Nintendo's revealed about the game so far, so everything I say may have already been confirmed or disproved. I have no idea. Number 1, cool underwater stuff. Okay, so you know how in Majora's Mask you can turn into a Sora, and it makes the underwater part of the game extremely fun unlike every other video game? Why did they never do that again? It would be amazing, especially on modern hardware. Like, the underwater section could look stunning. Water in Breath of the Wild is dreadful. That's like the worst part of the whole game. You better fill that shit out if you're gonna use the same world again. Number 2, using the same world again. According to Mockrock, maybe the world shouldn't have been so big. But by reusing the same world, now they can fill the world to the brim with new content and finally make the size of the map warranted. But I haven't been able to avoid everything. They added fucking caves. If they have enough surplus to add caves, they better have taken their sweet time with the overworld. Number 3, less filler. This ties back into the size of the map thing I just mentioned. Breath of the Wild has a lot of good quests, but for every Eventide Island and Spring of Wisdom, there's a minor test of strength out there somewhere. Like, half of the quests in this game are fetch quests, and they're fine. I think they do add to the game, but imagine if those quests had you going out into the world and solving some mystery an NPC told you about, like the Leviathan bones and the heroines. Number 4, better rewards. Okay, so they made rupees significantly less useful in this game compared to other Zelda games, and then they made 90% of the side quests give you like 10 of them. How about something a little more interesting this time? How about we bring the old Zelda items back? Let's say, for example, the hookshot. I mean, we can already climb, so that part won't be a big deal. Then we can just give it a cooldown so it doesn't entirely defeat the purpose of climbing. And like, can you imagine using the hookshot in the Sky Islands? Like, going from island to island with the hookshot, it's a perfect fit. And you might say that items like the hookshot would break the shrines, but I have an idea on how to fix that. Number 5. Shrines. Okay, so the big complaint about shrines is that they all look the same. And the test of strengths, but we already fixed those. Now, it didn't really bother me that they all look the same. They had a good lore reason for all looking the same, and they would offer a nice contrast to the overworld when I entered one. They did get a little stale at the end, but I think that's just because they hunted down all 120 of them. Quick side tangent. Bonus point. Things I'll do differently this time around. On my first original playthrough of Breath of the Wild, I didn't shy away from walkthroughs and YouTube videos teaching me how to do pretty much anything. And there's obviously that stuff for you to discover on your own if you've seen it on YouTube already. I played the game normally for a little while, but then my friend bought the game and we started watching these YouTube videos teaching us how to do all sorts of funky stuff. We started duplicating weapons, which ruined the whole reward system. The whole point of the durability system is that when you get a new weapon, even though you already have a stronger weapon, this new weaker weapon is still exciting because eventually that stronger weapon that you have is gonna break. It also allows you to go to areas like Hyrule Castle very early in the game, let you get super crazy good stuff right at the beginning of the game without ruining the balancing because they're gonna break anyway. My friend also learned how to wind bomb, which luckily I never even attempted, otherwise I would probably do it instinctively by now. Something I can recall doing numerous times is spotting something out in the distance of Hyrule, like a tower or something, and then putting my point marker there, and then on the way there getting lost in Hyrule, finding shrines, Korok seeds, enemies, and exploring basically, getting lost in the world. When you wind bomb, you skip all that, like you skip the gameplay. You just want to get the game over with. So by now, we've removed the challenge, the rewards, and the exploration. This obviously heavily tainted the experience for both of us, and we eventually stopped playing. I eventually did another playthrough with no exploits, but my friend never did. He tried to start up another run at some point, but then he rage quit after an hour because he couldn't do a wind bomb. I tried to explain to him how the exploits we used to do were bad, but then he told me it was none of my business how other people enjoyed their games. We may or may not have had a similar conversation a couple days earlier. Anyways, I was actually going somewhere completely different with this section. You are probably not meant to make it your goal to get all shrines, and you're definitely not meant to make it your goal to get all the Korok seeds. They're there, so there's always more for you to discover in Hyrule, so it never feels like you've seen everything there is to see. But Nintendo is kind of forced to put a reward there in case you do get all of them. I of course found a walkthrough and got all the 120 shrines because of course I did. I even started to hunt for all the Korok seeds because I'm a psychopath apparently. So now I have this super crazy save file where I just have everything at my disposal, but I definitely prefer playing on my other save file, my second playthrough save file, where there's still stuff for me to discover and stuff for me to work towards. And I think that's also why the Trials of the Sword is my favorite quest in the game, because it took all that OP stuff away from me and actually gave me a challenge for once. This time I'm going in knowing as little as possible, and I won't look up a guide once. Back to number 5. Anyways, my new idea for shrines, which I wouldn't even call them shrines because... Actually, let's just get point number 6 out of the way already. I think Link should have a fixed amount of stamina and probably also hearts right from the get-go. It just makes it easier for the developers to design challenges that way. And if you want to replicate the feeling of Link going somewhere he isn't really strong enough to handle yet, there are other ways to replicate that. Like just making all the enemies there do a shit ton of damage until he's past a certain barrier or something. The shrines will be replaced with bigger and meatier dungeons. But if Link doesn't get hearts or stamina, then why would he go in the dungeons? To get his hands on that hookshot, baby. See, I thought this thing through. There'd be multiple different dungeon themes that would each have their own properties and limitations. As an example, let's say there's electric dungeons and you can't use the hookshot in there because you'd get shocked. Bam, now we have no hookshot dungeons. Or maybe there were underwater dungeons that uses the Sora armor mechanic thing like Majora's Mask that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. That would be kind of cool. And these dungeons would have a specific order so that they could build on top of each other. So like, no matter what water dungeon you discover first, there'd be a couple around the map, maybe like 5. No matter what dungeons you find in the overworld and the order that you enter them in, the layouts of the dungeons would be in a specific order, so that water dungeon number 5 can build on top of the previous dungeons. Okay, now for some technical stuff. First off, graphics and sound, you don't gotta touch those. The game's already a joy both to look at and to listen to. Performance-wise, Tears of the Kingdom might run a little better, but you should keep your expectations in check on that one. It'll be fine, I'll probably end up emulating it for a second playthrough eventually. Small side note, emulated Breath of the Wild with some settings tweaked on a good PC is one of the best gaming experiences you can have. There are a few small things that aren't really supposed to be happening during a normal play session of Breath of the Wild, but they're few and far between. None of them are major except for one annoying little glitch that happens during the second phase of Thunderblight, which makes the fight a lot more frustrating. But other than that, it's perfect. Second off, better options menu. This is also fixed on emulator. Okay, now for some smaller stuff. Horse and bike. I hope they're not completely irrelevant now that we're in the sky. Shield surfing. I hope it's not completely irrelevant now that we're in the sky. More trade-offs. I think there should be a short animation for putting on armor and eating and drinking potions, so you can't just do it in the middle of a battle with no consequences. I mean, you should still be able to pull it off, but it should be challenging. Okay, this one's obviously gonna happen. I wrote, Link learned some new moves. I've already seen some of Link's new moves, only a little bit though. I'm hoping he has even more new moves, especially some that would be useful in combat to shake things up a little bit from the usual formula. Okay, this is another idea I got from Mock Rock. Mini games that are completely separate from the main game, like a side mode. Okay, this is a big one. I'd like them to think the story through this time. In Breath of the Wild, everything happens at just the right time for Link to save the day due to random chance. And you probably can't exactly do loads of foreshadowing due to the nature of the game, but you can still think the story through more and let the voice actors actually know what's going on this time. I think Link should have either fully regained his memories by this game, or be able to fully recover all of his memories in the game. Hell, you could even add like foreshadowing through the flashbacks. I think there's just a lot more you can do with the story if Link can finally remember what happened 100 years ago. And then there's the final boss. I would like a better final boss. This part was pretty good, and the rest was kind of mediocre. And finally, I would like you to do something, anything, about the rain. Thank you. I'm gonna go to sleep now so I can wake up early for a new Zelda game tomorrow. Have a good one.